Africa is home to the most diverse assortment of wildlife on Earth, and sadly, she is under assault. And the threat to her wildlife is not limited to domestic lawlessness, such as organized poaching syndicates within her continent's boundaries. Sadly, in fact tragically, the greatest threat to the survival of her game may come in the form of politically driven regulations from here in the United States. The importation suspension of legally taken sport-hunted trophies, such as lion and elephant, into the U.S. signals the beginning of a war about to rage across the dark continent, and the economic blood has already begun to spill. You may have heard that Eric Passanisi, owner of Tanganyika Wildlife Safaris, the largest and longest operating safari company in Tanzania, has made the grim decision to surrender all of his company's massive hunting blocks back to the government. This news will be cheered by the ill-informed anti-hunting community, but tears are being shed by those who actually understand the realities of Africa and her wildlife. They have seen firsthand the folly and catastrophic results when African wildlife policies are dictated by politics and public opinion in place of science-based wildlife management. With this, the closing of a single safari company, the following conservation measures have become a thing of the past, and experts fear that the game will soon follow. In the past 3 years, Tanganyika Wildlife Safaris, in partnership with their safari clientele, have raised $2.4 million solely dedicated to anti-poaching efforts in their safari areas. This critical funding has now vanished overnight, and with it, the safety of game that flourished due to that ongoing protection. The company's private donations of vehicles and airplanes to Tanzania Parks Department, also used in the war to combat poaching, will now dry up, and they will not be replaced. The loss of company funding that kept 100 Selous game scouts, a crack anti-poaching unit, in the field will now leave vast areas open to commercial poaching, areas that were once avoided by even the most hardened and dedicated wildlife criminals. Passanisi's company donated countless big game safaris to Shikar for auction. These donated safaris raised $500,000 for lion research and aging studies. The loss of this single safari company and its decades of dedication to wildlife conservation could have an irreversible effect on the future of all wildlife in Tanzania. The grim reality is that more dedicated African operators across the continent are on the brink of the same heart-wrenching decision faced by Eric Passanisi. They are being forced by onerous permitting requirements to abandon the wilderness they have fought to preserve and the wildlife they have dedicated their life to protect, or face financial ruin. Who will fill the conservation void when the hunter leaves? Who will fund the anti-poaching efforts in these remote wilderness lands? Who will ensure that these wilderness areas do not disappear under the plow or see the wildlife replaced by domestic livestock? The end of the game is in sight. Legal sport hunting operators like Eric Passanisi and their profound contributions to conservation are the wildlife's only hope. Dallas Safari Club and the DSC Foundation implore the President and the leadership within the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to utilize science as the sole basis to make decisions as it relates to the wildlife. If politics supersedes science-based wildlife management, we will have placed the death sentence on Africa's game.